Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Assembly Judiciary. Welcome those of you that are here in Carson City, as well as those in Las Vegas, and of course, anyone watching online either through Nellis or Nellis or YouTube. With that, committee secretaries, will you please take the roll?
Assembly members Cole. Here. Dahlia. Here. Gonzalez. Here. Gray. Here. Hanson. Here. Hardy. LaRue Hatch. Marzola. Present. Moore. Here. Nadeem. Present. Ortlicker. Here. Roth. Here. Urick. Here. Chair Miller.
Here. And please mark Hardy and LaRue Hatch present when they arrive. With that, just a few reminders, asking everyone to please turn off their devices, as well as we will have public comment at the end of today's meeting. When testifying or giving public comment, we ask that you state your name and spell it so that we have it correct for the record. Presenters, when you're presenting your bills today, if there's more than one speaker as part of the presentation, please make sure each of you say your name before you speak. I know it's very challenging, but that way, again, we have it correct in the minutes. Again, public comment will be at the end of today's meeting. I will provide the phone number now so that those that are watching online and who would like to call in for their testimony or public comment are able to do so and have that number handy for themselves. The phone number will be 1-888-475-4499, and the meeting ID for today is 862-4439-7062. Again, the meeting ID is 862-4439-7062. When testifying on a bill or making public comment, we ask that you keep your comments to 2 minutes. We also want to remind everyone that public comment is for those items that are under the purview of this committee. With that, we do have 3 bills that we will hear today. I ask that presenters keep their bill presentation limited to 15-20 minutes because we want to make sure that we're able to get through all of our bills and all of our work for today. So with that, I think that's all of the housekeeping for this morning. There are some proposed amendments, members, if you're looking those up. And with that, I will open the hearing. We will take today's agenda in order. I will open the hearing on Assembly Bill 54. So I ask that the presenters come forward. I'll give you a few moments to get settled and situated. Again, when you're ready to begin, please introduce yourselves and spell your names for the records. Also, I should mention that Assembly Bill 54 revises penalties for failing to take certain precautions when approaching a traffic incident.
Good morning, Chair and members of the committee. I'm Colonel Patrick Conmay, that's C-O-N-M-A-Y, with the Department of Public Safety, proudly serving as Chief of the Nevada Highway Patrol. Joining me is Lieutenant Colonel Martin Malesko, along with Captain Nathan Peterson. We're also supported by key members of our leadership team, both here and online in Las Vegas, ready to assist with any questions. Today we present Assembly Bill 54, a promise to protect those who protect us. AB 54 stands as a commitment to ensure that negligence on our roads has meaningful consequences. I'll now turn this over to Captain Peterson to make the presentation. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Nathan Peterson. I'm a captain with the Nevada Highway Patrol. For the record, spelling is N-A-T-H-A-N-P-E-T-E-R-S-O-N. I promise I'll keep this to about 6 minutes. I'm going to do my best. So appreciate the opportunity to be here today to present this. Today we stand together to address a life or death issue, the safety of our responders and roadside workers on Nevada's roads. Assembly Bill 54 is more than a bill. It is a commitment to those who serve. And today it stands in honor of Nevada Highway Patrol Sergeant Michael Abate and Trooper Alberto Felix, who tragically lost their lives after being struck while working roadside during a traffic incident. Their sacrifice, along with those of countless other first responders and roadside workers, remind us today of a hard truth. We can and must do better. And today we take a stand to protect those who protect us. This presentation will serve as your roadmap to Assembly Bill 54, its necessity, its purpose, and its impact. Today we will cover Assembly Bill 54, its language and definitions, along with Nevada's roadside safety issues, the reasons behind the bill, and the proposed legislative changes, and we'll conclude with references and supporting data. We will demonstrate why AB 54 is essential and how it will save lives. In Assembly Bill 54, the term traffic incident refers to any vehicle, person, condition, or hazard on or near a roadway that poses a danger. It also includes individuals responding to such hazards, such as a first responder. The bill defines first responder to include individuals responding to traffic incidents, such as those involving stopped emergency vehicles with flashing lights, tow trucks with amber warning lights, and public utility or Department of Transportation vehicles. Everyday responders face extreme risk while roadside and attending to traffic incidents. In 2023 alone, 46 first responders nationwide were killed and struck by vehicle incidents, including 18 law enforcement officers, 20 tow truck operators, and 8 fire and medical personnel. And Nevada's move-over law is clear. Drivers must slow down and move over when approaching an emergency scene or roadside workers. It is not a suggestion, it is the law. Yet drivers today continue to ignore the law, and the consequences are often deadly. When a driver fails to move over and that violation results in the death or serious injury of a responder, the outcome is catastrophic. However, current penalties fail to reflect the behavior and the severity of the harm caused. This is not about intent. It is about responsibility, and the move-over law sets a clear legal requirement. When a driver violates that duty and someone is killed or injured, accountability must follow. This is not just about Sergeant Abate and Trooper Felix. It's about protecting every responder, tow operator, paramedic, firefighter, and highway worker who risk their lives on our roads. Under Nevada's current law, drivers approaching a traffic incident are required to do the following: reduce their speed to a reasonable and proper level, proceed with caution, be prepared to stop, and avoid the adjacent lane unless unsafe to do so. This is a law that is simple and clear, but compliance remains dangerously low. Assembly Bill 54 makes one critical update. If a driver fails to move over and their actions cause the death or serious injury of a responder, they will face a Category B felony. And why is this a necessary enhancement? Well, AB 54 is not a new law. It is an update to ensure that the penalty reflects the harm caused when a driver disregards their legal duty. AB 54 is about negligence. It applies when a driver's careless violation of the move-over law results in death or serious injury. It targets behavior that awareness campaigns alone have failed to change. And without stronger penalties and better awareness, the cycle of tragedy will continue. AB 54 ensures that Nevada law deters negligence. It promotes accountability and specifically protects those who serve and protect us. Because when a life is lost due to a failure to follow the law, consequences must reflect the loss. Under AB 54, the move over law will be strengthened by amending Nevada Revised Statute 484B.607 to include increased penalties for violations that result in severe injury or death of a first responder, reclassification of the offense from a misdemeanor to a Category B felony, mandatory sentencing guidelines which include 1 to 6 years of imprisonment and fines between $2,000 and $5,000. This enhancement is specific. It applies only to violations of the move over law. It holds drivers accountable when their negligence causes catastrophic harm. AB 54 sends a clear message that failing to move over is not a minor offense. It is a dangerous and deadly one. According to the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, NHTSA, move-over laws exist in all 50 states, yet first responder fatalities and struck-by incidents are rising nationwide. This includes a tragic incident that took place yesterday involving a Nebraska state trooper. According to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, there were approximately 16,800 reported roadside injuries due to struck-by incidents in 2023 alone. The move-over law remains one of the most ignored traffic laws. This is more than a Nevada issue. It's a national crisis, and Assembly Bill 54 aligns Nevada with proven measures that save lives. First responders risk their lives on Nevada's roadways every day. AB 54 is about more than penalties. It's about prevention through accountability. And by enacting Assembly Bill 54, we will protect those who serve, increase public awareness, and prevent unnecessary deaths. Again, this is not just about Sergeant Abate and Trooper Felix. It's about every first responder who stands on our roads to protect and serve the public. And the time for action is now. We urge you to vote in favor of Assembly Bill 54 because waiting until another responder is struck and killed is not an option. Thank you for this opportunity, Chair, and I will turn the presentation back to Colonel Conway.
For the record, Patrick Conway. To the Assembly Committee on Judiciary, we thank you for your time, energy, and support. Chair, on this slide, you will find my contact information and just a few of the names of those that made this presentation possible. Should the committee need anything at all, please do not hesitate to contact me. And now I'll open it up to any questions that the committee may have. Thank you.
Thank you so much. We will begin our questions from Assemblyman Gray.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Great presentation, gentlemen, Colonel, Captain, Colonel. You know, a lot of times on accidents, you'll get a lot of first responders that stop and they're off duty. Would it be your intent, and also could this law be applied to those guys as well? Because you get a lot of the looky-loos who just, you know, I mean, they could easily take somebody out in that situation also, I'm sure it has. But I'd like to make sure that this applies to even them. I mean, as soon as that accident happens, that scene should be protected.
Patrick Conway for the record. I believe our intent is to ensure that when there is an incident, that this move-over law applies. Now, if there's a bunch of people standing in the roadway, I mean, we have to have some reasonable, rational discussion about what applies, who was at fault. Those are all things that I think we would have to look at case by case. But what we're trying to get to here is a responsibility for those drivers that come upon those incidents to move over, slow down, and make the scene safe, no matter what might be happening there. But we're targeting, I think our focus is on those first responders that are there because they need to be there and they need to make the road safe again.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
You're welcome. Our next question is from Assemblymember Roth.
Thank you so much, Chair, and thank you so much for the presentation. And my heart goes out to your community. I think everyone up here is very aware of how traffic issues and fatalities are affecting our constituents. But I do have some questions regarding the purpose of the bill. And if I'm able to give you a little background, last session we did address reckless driving enhancements. And a lot of thought and care went into enhancing certain conduct when we're dealing with reckless driving. So, for example, last session. So, for example, we increased penalties where a person is driving more than 50 miles per hour over the posted speed limit, and then proximately causes the death of another. And that was under the same section in the NRS. So, my concern with this bill is that, one, this conduct is already covered, because what you have explained, the situation you've explained to me, that is covered under the reckless driving statute. Reckless driving causing death is a felony, 1 to 6.
Assemblymember, do we have a question?
Yes, thank you. So my question is in regards to how do we ensure that those who are driving recklessly, who can be anyone from, let's say, a 16-year-old girl who just got her driver's license, who happens to look down and see that she got a text and not move over from a scene, how are we ensuring that they are not wrapped up into this statute when that conversation was already had and then covers this conduct that you're now bringing forward?
Nathan Peterson, for the record. I appreciate the comments and the back history on this. The difference between reckless driving and the move over law and the requirements of it are a willful and wanton disregard for the safety of the public. Whereas the move over law would more so apply, and the enhancements tied to it would more so apply to the negligence associated with the action or inaction of that driver. That's where it separates itself. We've all seen vehicles driving at high rates of speed, splitting traffic, driving on the shoulder. That is considered reckless. The move over law has a number of different things tied to it, and it's a law that already exists. You must slow down, you must move over, you must proceed with caution. And those that fail to do that are neglectful in what their responsibilities are as they approach a traffic incident. That's where the difference lies for us.
Thank you so much, Chair. So I hear what you're saying, but my concern remains with this bill that this conduct is already covered. Proof for reckless driving would include the violation of a traffic
Assemblymember,
law.
can we get to a question, please?
Yes. And so how does this not fall under the current statute?
Nathan Peterson, for the record. The difference is intent. From a standpoint of willful and wanton disregard, the reckless driving statute covers it in that language. And again, we have a move over law that currently exists. Failure to abide by that is negligence. That's where there's some difference.
Chair, if I may.
Please.
Lieutenant Colonel Martin Malesko, Mleczko. Assemblymember Roth, again, you bring up some very good points, and we've had those discussions. And again, it comes to intention. When a driver, when you refer to speeds, right? That's an intentional act that somebody isn't, they're deciding to speed. Now, you can have a violation of the move over law, and you can strike a first responder and have reckless driving, but then we wouldn't be charging them with the move over law violation. This is separate. This is somebody who just has inattention, their carelessness, and they're negligent in following the law. They have a duty to act. When somebody gets behind the wheel, they choose whether or not they're going to speed. They don't necessarily choose that they're going to strike and kill a first responder that day. So that's really the significance between the two.
Thank you for that. I'm going to give members the opportunity to ask for more questions, and if it's not asked, I may come back with some clarifying questions on the difference of intent. as well. But right now, we will go to Assemblymember Ornlicker.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you for your presentation and bringing the bill. I want to ask a question, Captain Peterson, about something you said toward the end, that this bill will, if I'm remembering correctly, align with proven measures in other states that save lives. And you said proven measures, so I wondered if that meant there are other things besides what's in this bill that can address the problem.
Certainly. And just to give the group some history on this, this bill was initiated in 1996 in South Carolina, and since that time, all 50 states have enacted some version of this. It has changed and morphed over time from state to state, and we're in the process of continuing to analyze and review, as well as working with news outlets, with different social media campaigns to push this message out. But knowing that, we still have this problem on the roadway where people are negligent and they continue to disregard this particular law. So for us, it's number one, getting this bill through, increasing awareness for the public, in knowing that the actions here specific to failing to move over and causing catastrophic harm will have consequences.
Thank you for that. Assemblymember Hanson, do you have a question? I have ... on my screen. Please proceed.
Thank you, Chair. She really is. I hadn't hit send. Thank you for being here, and I think all of our hearts are heavy for the incredible things that you must see and deal with and the tragedy of these officers. So the original move over law, just in full transparency, I myself have been caught in a quandary on the highway where I can't move over. And then I'm like, I'm trying to be especially careful because I know there's a situation occurring on the side of the road. So when you mention you think maybe that the public, or you maybe know because of data, maybe the public isn't even complying with the original law of moving over. I'm just curious, are you collecting data? Are there officers on the side of the road that are seeing? And then are we able to know, like in my situation, I want to move over, but there's 3 trailer tractor rigs and I can't move over. Now I'm going right alongside the accident. I'm just curious how we're parsing out and knowing the campaign for move over isn't working. And are there a lot of accidents that are occurring that you saw this after investigation that people hadn't moved over? Thank you for the clarity on that.
Nathan Peterson for the record. Just to make sure I got this right, I got kind of 2 questions. One is specific to the statute, and one is, are we collecting data, and what are we seeing out on the roadways? Is that fair? Okay. So a couple things. We understand that there are times where it is impossible to move over. We, think about hitting a hill crest or rounding a curve. Maybe I have a tractor trailer to the left of me. Okay. The law specifically addresses that, and I'll just read it real quick. If possible, this is subsection C of section 1, if possible, drive in a lane that is not adjacent to the lane or lanes where the traffic incident is located, unless roadway traffic, weather, or other conditions make doing so unsafe or impossible. So that is covered. And as someone who has stood roadside and seen these scenarios as they approach me, we take that into account, and we know that there are variables that we can and can't control, and we also understand that the drivers who are making their way from point A to point B sometimes don't have the ability to move over. What they do have the ability to do is slow down, And so that is our ask. Specific to stats as it relates to our vehicles moving over, et cetera, I had my team pull some numbers yesterday, and we are enforcing this statute. We have over the last number of years. What I can tell you is oftentimes it's difficult for us because we are on a scene, are managing an incident where we can't just leave to go pull that driver over. So unless there's another trooper available or officer or whoever, we don't have the ability to go necessarily take enforcement action because we are already there tending to something. What I can tell you is there was, I want to say it was, and I'd have to go back to my notes, somewhere around 16,000 struck by incidents where individuals were on a scene and they were struck by passing motorists who failed to abide by the rules of the road. So it's a real concern for us. It's not just a concern here in Nevada. It's a concern for all of the states throughout the country. Hopefully that answers your question. Thank you.
Okay, I think my question was answered as well. Thank you so much for your presentation. At this point, we're going to open it up for testimony. So again, I ask that anyone testifying make sure to say your name and spell it for the record. I also ask that everyone limit their testimony to 2 minutes, please. We will first begin here in Carson City, then we will move to Las Vegas, and then to the phones. So anyone here in Carson City that would like to testify in support of Assembly Bill 54?
Thank you, Chair and members of the committee. For the record, Mike Cathcart, representing the City of Henderson. That's C-A-T-H-C-A-R-T. The City of Henderson supports Assembly Bill 54 and believes it will enhance the safety of all first responders while they're working on traffic incidents. We believe that the move over law is good public policy.
Thank you, Chair Miller, members of the Assembly Judiciary Committee. My name is John Jones, John-Jones, here on behalf of the Nevada District Attorneys Association. I too am here in support of AB 54. Thank you.
Madam Chair, my name is Joshua Martinez with Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department. I just want to echo our support as well for AB 54.
For the record, Dan Gordon, D-A-N, last name is G-O-R-D-O-N. Good morning, Chair and members of the committee. My name is Dan Gordon, and I have the privilege of serving as the president of the Nevada Police Union, representing state law enforcement professionals across Nevada. I stand before you today on behalf of the men and women who put their lives on the line daily to protect our communities. These professionals, our first responders, work under extreme and often dangerous conditions, especially when responding to roadside incidents. Assembly Bill 54 is not about politics, it's about protection. Protection for those who serve, for those who sacrifice, and for the families who pray their loved ones come home after every shift. The tragic deaths of Sergeant Michael Abate and Trooper Alberto Felix are a sobering reminder that failing to move over and slow down is not a minor traffic infraction. It's a decision that can cost lives. Law enforcement officers, firefighters, paramedics, tow truck operators, and highway workers all deserve to do their jobs without constant fear of being struck by a vehicle simply because someone was too distracted, impatient, or reckless to follow the law. Nevada has an opportunity to send a clear message that will no longer tolerate negligence that results in the injury or death of first responders. AB 54 introduces common sense, life-saving measures that bring accountability to those who ignore the move-over laws. This bill is about responsibility, deterrence, and ultimately saving lives. On behalf of the Nevada Police Union and our membership across the state, I strongly urge you to support AB 54 and ensure that those who serve us receive the protections they deserve. Thank you.
Good morning, Chair and members of the committee. My name is Jeff Rogan, R-O-G-A-N. I represent Clark County. And on behalf of all of the first responders that are employed by Clark County, we urge your support on this important bill. Thank you.
Good morning, Chair Miller, members of the committee. My name is John Abel, J-O-H-N-A-B-E-L, representing LVPPA, and we support this bill. Thank you.
Good morning, Chair, committee members. My name is Harrison Porter.
I'm with the Las Vegas Police Managers and Supervisors Association. We're in favor of this bill. Thank you.
Good morning, Madam Chair. Tessa Laxalt Robinson with the Nevada Trucking Association, here to support our friends in law enforcement, as well as our member tow car operators who are acting as first responders in order to help clear crashes efficiently to keep Nevada moving. Thank you.
Good morning, Madam Chair. Ryan Beeman, for the record, representing professional firefighters. Last name is B-E-A-M-A-N. We're here in full support of this bill. Thank you.
Good morning, Chair Miller and members of the committee. My name is Isaiah Burke. That's I-S-A-I-A-H-B-E-R-K-E, and I'm a legislative intern for McDonald Corano. I'm here to speak in support of AB 54 on behalf of the Nevada State Tow Association and echo the testimony of the Nevada Trucking Association. Thank you.
Not seeing anyone else here in Carson City to provide testimony, we will move down to Las Vegas. Again, please state your name and spell it for the record.
Good morning. My name is Arlene Felix, A-R-L-E-N-E-F-E-L-I-X, and I'm here today with a heavy heart as the widow of Trooper Alberto Felix, a dedicated public servant and a loving husband and father. On November 30, 2023, my world shattered when my husband was taken from us, not in the line of battle, but in a dangerous pursuit, but on the side of the road, where he was simply doing his job, helping keep others safe. Alberto wasn't just a trooper. He was my partner, my best friend, and the father of our 3 children. He was a protector, not only for our family, but for everyone who traveled Nevada's highways. But in a single preventable moment, the state of Nevada lost 2 dedicated public servants. Sergeant Abate and Trooper Felix's lives were stolen from us because someone failed to slow down and move over. The pain my family carries is unimaginable. Every day I wake up knowing that Alberto will never walk through our front door again. Our children will grow up without their father. Birthdays, holidays, and milestones will forever carry the ache of his absence. But today I speak not only for my family. I speak for every first responder and their loved ones who live with the fear that they too could receive the gut-wrenching call or knock on the door that changes everything. Assembly Bill 54 is more than legislation. It is a lifeline. It is a chance to prevent other families from enduring the heartbreak that we live with every day. Stricter penalties will not bring Alberto back, but it will make roads safer for everyone. They will save lives. The lives of those out there saving our lives. They will remind every driver that a moment of carelessness can mean a lifetime of pain for a family like mine. Alberto gave his life to protect others. I ask you now to honor his sacrifice by protecting those who continue to serve. Please pass AB 54. Do it for my husband, Trooper Felix. Do it for Sergeant Abate. Do it for every first responder who stands on the roadside, vulnerable but committed to protecting the public. And do it for every family who should never have to experience the loss that mine has suffered. Thank you for your time, your compassion, and your courage to act.
Thank you so much for being here today. Thank you for your courage to speak. We are immensely sorry to both families, and this loss is not just to your families, but to our communities as well. Thank you for sharing today. Next testimony, please.
Good morning, Chair and esteemed members of the Legislature. My name is Ann Carpenter, A-N-N-E-C-A-R-P-E-N-T-E-R. And I had the honor of serving our great state for over 27 years, culminating in the 25th Colonel of the Nevada Highway Patrol. And today I appear before you not just as a retired law enforcement executive, but as someone deeply committed to the safety and well-being of our dedicated first responders. Throughout my career, I witnessed firsthand the unwavering devotion of our law enforcement community, our firefighters, our emergency medical personnel, our tow truck operators, just to name a few. These brave men and women risk their lives daily to ensure our safety. Yet, the dangers they face, especially during roadside incidents, are profound and ever present. The tragic losses of Sergeant Michael Abate and Trooper Alberto Felix are seared into our collective memory. These were not just mere accidents, they were preventable tragedies resulting from a moment's inattention or negligence. Such incidents not only rob families of their loved ones, but also send ripples of grief through our entire community. Assembly Bill 54 is more than just legislative text, it will save lives. By strengthening the Move Over law, we send a clear message that the safety of those who protect us is paramount. Elevating penalties for violations that result in harm to first responders is a necessary step to deter negligent behavior and underscore the gravity of these situations. It is not just about enforcement, it's about fostering a culture of respect and caution on our roads. Let us honor the memories of all fallen heroes by enacting measures that ensure such tragedies are not repeated. Thank you.
Is there anyone else there in Las Vegas that would like to testify in support? Not seeing anyone else? Broadcasting, please open the lines.
If you would like to testify in support of Assembly Bill 54, please press *9 now to take your place in the queue. Chair, the public lines are open and working. There are no callers wishing to testify in support at this time.
Thank you. With that, then I will open it up for testimony in opposition of Assembly Bill 54, starting first here in Carson City, and then we will move to Las Vegas, then the phones.
Paloma Guerrero, for the record, Clark County Public Defender's Office. PALOMAGUERRERO. We oppose this bill because it creates a strict liability situation where if substantial bodily injury occurs or death to a first responder, then the context doesn't matter. And we cannot criminalize behavior without the context. Especially when we're talking about traffic where mistakes can happen, accidents can happen, and situations outside of our control can happen. This bill, as written, would criminalize accidental behavior, and we cannot create accidental conduct as a felony. A 16-year-old kid just got their license, their tire blows out, they lose control of the car and accidentally injure a first responder, they're a felon now. A 50-year-old gets a heart attack while driving, they lose control of the car and accidentally injure a first responder, they're a felon now. You're driving to the Reno airport after a long week at the legislature, it's been snowing and raining, you're driving over the Washoe Pass, there's a sheet of black ice, you lose control of your car, accidentally injure a first responder, you're a felon now. These are just like some examples, but there's plenty of others. But importantly, what the bill is describing, the conduct they're trying to encompass here is encompassed under the reckless driving statute. You heard today that the reckless driving statute, it just includes a willful disregard to any duty of traffic laws, but that's not what the law says. NRS 484B.653 Section 9 defines reckless driving, and it includes neglectful behavior, what they're trying to encompass here in the statute. And we have a proposed amendment, and our proposed amendment mirrors that reckless driving statute language in order to add the context back to these accidents. And if the amendment is accepted, then we would withdraw our opposition. And Sergeant Michael Abate and Trooper Alberto Felix should be alive today. That was a horrific accident, and I remember first hearing about it when it happened. And the context there is that driver was intoxicated. That driver chose to drive drunk, and he was punished for it.
We're over time. Can you please wrap up?
Yes, he was convicted of 2 DUIs resulting in death and was sentenced to the maximum amount of time in prison, 16 to 40 years. Thank you.
Angela Knott from the Washoe County Public Defender's Office, ANGELA-KNOTT. While we understand the sensitive history of AB 54's proposed amendments, we must oppose the bill as presented. AB 54 removes discretion and context of the acts described in Section 1. It removes the why. Why did this accident happen? Was it just that, an accident? or was it willful and wanton disregard for safety? If it was willful and wanton disregard for safety, that law already provides a criminal penalty, the category B, 1 to 6 years. AB 54 shifts the burden to a defendant to prove the absence of proximate cause and presupposes the wrongfulness of the act. Basically, you'll be sending a person to prison for an accident. AB 54 will not deter accidents. If the amendment we propose is accepted, we will remove our opposition. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Is there anyone in Las Vegas? I don't see anyone approaching in Las Vegas. Broadcasting, will you please open the line?
If you would like to testify in opposition to Assembly Bill 54, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue.
Anne Marie Grant, for the record, ANNEMARIEGRANT. I'm calling in opposition to the bill. Fear-mongering should not facilitate the passing of bills and make certain that certain titles create protected citizens when the average community member should have equal protections under the law from reckless police until there is a bill that holds law enforcement accountable for killing innocent bystanders with reckless police-initiated cases. I can't support this type of bill. Thank you.
Next caller.
Chair, there are no other callers to testify in opposition at this time.
Okay, thank you for that. Then I will open it up in testimony of neutral. Is there anyone there in Las Vegas that would like to testify in neutral? Broadcasting, will you open the lines?
If you would like to testify in neutral to Assembly Bill 54, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue. Chair, the public lines are open and working. There are no callers wishing to testify in neutral at this time.
Thank you so much. Then I will go ahead and close testimony and welcome the bill presenters back up for any final brief remarks you would like to make.
Colonel Conmay, C-O-N-M-A-Y for the record. I just want to again thank the chair and the committee for their time and energy. We appreciate the consideration. We feel this is an important bill and ask for your support. Thank you.
Thank you so much. With that, I will go ahead and close the hearing on Assembly Bill 54. Our next hearing is on Assembly Bill 55. Assembly Bill 55 revises provisions relating to motor vehicle crashes. And as our presenters are getting ready, I understand that we have a few presenters on Zoom. Is that true? Okay, are they part of the presentation or just available for questions?
Available for questions.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. I have the same challenges. That's why there's no one sitting in front of me. So,
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I always hate going after NHP. They're so calm under pressure. But good morning. My name is Amy Davey. I am the Division Administrator of the Office of Traffic Safety. And thank you for letting us come this morning to discuss the tenets of AB 55 with you. Good morning, Chair Miller, members of the Assembly Judiciary Committee. Again, Amy Davey, Director of the Nevada Office of Traffic Safety, AMY-DAVEY. I'm joined at the table here and in Las Vegas by some of my colleagues, Adam Anderson, who is our state FARS analyst. I'll tell you what FARS means in a minute. Kevin Tice, who is our state traffic records program manager, and Lacey Tisler, who is our chief state traffic engineer from the Nevada DOT. And then joining us by phone, I believe we have Dr. Laura Knight, the chief medical examiner and coroner for the Washoe County Regional Medical Examiner's Office, and Director Melanie Rouse from the Clark County Office of the Coroner Medical Examiner. We're going to be providing an overview of the changes proposed in AB 55. The slide presentation is short, and we're happy to take questions as we work through the presentation or at the end. Next slide. There are two primary components to AB 55, which focuses on improving motor vehicle crash data collection. Much of what is requested in AB 55 is already occurring in practice, and the proposed language is meant to update NRS, describe current processes, and align with required standards. There are two components. First, including drug toxicology testing and reporting for car crash victims. Second, clarifying the methods and timelines associated with filing crash reports and acknowledging NDOT's role in the Safety Data Partnership. NRS Chapter 484E describes how, when, and to whom crash investigation reports must be made, and NRS Chapter 484C deals entirely with driving under the influence of alcohol or a prohibited substance. In the following slides, I will explain each of these components, but first I want to give an overview of crash data, why it is collected, and how it's used. Next slide. Through the U.S. DOT, the Federal Highway Administration, and National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, Nevada is the recipient of several $1 million in federal funds intended to address transportation safety needs on our roads. Concurrent with the allocation of federal dollars are many types of requirements, including those that require state agencies such as DPS and NDOT to track safety data, report crash data through the Fatality Analysis Reporting System, FARS, set safety goals, and build and execute plans and programs to improve safety on our roads. In addition to federal reporting, crash and citation data is used by a myriad of partners, such as Nevada's universities, hospitals, law enforcement and first responders, regional transportation commissions, local governments, nonprofit organizations, and state agencies such as Health and Human Services, NDOT, DMV, DPS, and policymakers such as the legislature. We constantly review, report, and analyze safety data to build the best programs we can to keep all of us safe on our roadways. Next slide. First, AB 55 proposes changes to NRS 484C 170, which currently require a coroner or other public official performing like duties to test deceased victims of car crashes for the presence and concentration of alcohol by adding testing for the presence and concentration of prohibited substances. The term prohibited substances is defined in NRS 484C.080 as 7 types or categories of drugs. Adding language specifying toxicological testing for drugs both supports existing practice and aligns our statutes with requirements to report impairing substances to the FARS system. An analysis of a full year of records received on deceased victims shows that 90% of the reports we currently receive include testing results for impairing substances in addition to alcohol. So again, we are currently receiving 90% toxicological testing reports in addition to blood alcohol, which, by the way, it's about 90% of crash victims we receive blood alcohol on. So the practice is already occurring that toxicological testing is being done. In 1 year, we show that 373 tests for alcohol were conducted and 366 included testing for drugs. Roughly 10% of reports that we receive that do not include testing results are often due to a time lapse between the time of the car crash and the time the victim passes away, i.e. individuals who are in the hospital prior to death, rendering additional testing by the coroner's office ineffectual. And in a small amount of cases, we are unable to collect information from the public agency. As we develop the language for AB 55, we use the term prohibited substances, as this term is already defined in statute. In subsequent conversations we've had with the Washoe County Medical Examiner's Office and Clark County Coroner's Office, they've suggested instead the term commonly abused drugs, which allows post-mortem testing panels to be determined by the coroner's office, flexibility as drug trends change, and maintains testing within the funding available to them. Additionally, it's noted that the prohibited substances list currently in statute appears somewhat outdated, does not include drugs such as fentanyl, opioids, benzodiazepines, etc. Additionally, contained within the amendment are the removal of the 8-hour testing requirement and 30-hour reporting requirement, neither of which are current practice. This information has been submitted in the form of an amendment. As mentioned earlier, we do have Dr. Knight and Director Rouse available by phone to answer questions specific to testing practices. Next slide. This is a sample report that we currently receive from the Clark County Coroner's Office that depicts toxicological test results for a deceased car crash victim. The Federal FAR's reporting system contains codes for hundreds of substances and stipulates that we include all data available from the testing. Next slide. In sections 2 and 3 of AB 55, we suggest minor clarifying changes to NRS 484E to again align with current practice and to describe current distinctions. In section 2, subsection 1, we acknowledge that crash reports are received by the DPS through an electronic crash reporting system rather than paper forms. Additionally, we clarify that crash reporting must begin within 10 days after the date of the crash or after the date of death of a person in the crash. We call this early notification, and this is a federal requirement for us. It also clarifies that the initial report of the crash need not wait until a full investigation is completed. In Section 2, subsection 2, we identify the Nevada Department of Transportation as a primary stakeholder and collaborator in our crash data system. This acknowledges both NDOT's fundamental role in providing support to the crash system, such as updates to the state street file and street map, assistance with geolocation of crashes, analysis of safety data, and it acknowledges NDOT's federal requirements to have access to this data. Simply put, NDOT is the largest consumer of this data and is a critical component of the system. Naming NDOT as a collaborator in the system facilitates agency cooperation and shared responsibility. Sections 3 through 6 make minor conforming changes that recognize that the DPS uses an electronic crash reporting system where the crash report form template is maintained and accessed. And that concludes our presentation this morning. Our final slide has my contact information, and looking forward to the discussion.
Thank you so much. I'm going to give members a moment to formulate their questions. With that, we will begin with Assemblymember Roth.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you so much for the presentation. And I'm sorry if I missed this, if I could just get some clarification. I thought it said in the presentation that it was removing the 8-hour and 30-day requirement. Can you just touch on that a little bit?
Yes, thank you for the question, Amy Davey, Office of Traffic Safety. In speaking with the Washoe County Medical Examiner's Office and the Clark County Coroner's Office, they both noted that those timelines were really not possible for them to meet. Those are in current statute. We're not sure what the thought process was when those timelines were initiated. These statutes have been in place for many years. Both medical examiners have indicated that they're not necessary and they're not achievable. So they requested that as part of the amendment, that would make their reporting and their testing more practical, more functional, and would align with the process that they currently use.
Our next question is from Assemblymember Gray.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good morning. Question, when you say victims of the accident, the deceased victims, is it going to be all deceased victims or just those believed to be the drivers?
The statute identifies any deceased, any individual who's deceased as a result of the car crash, including pedestrians.
Thank you for that. Our next question is from Assemblymember LaRue Hatch.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you for your presentation. My question is just on workload. If we were originally analyzing just for alcohol content and now we're adding a whole panel, how much is that going to increase the workload of the folks doing those tests, if at all?
Thank you for the question. This is Amy Davey. I'd like to also invite Dr. Knight and Director Rouse if they would like to provide some input. We did pull data from our reports that are received by my office. And as I indicated, 90% of the time individuals are being tested for blood alcohol content, and 90% of the time they're being tested for, currently being tested for a basic postmortem toxicological panel. But I want to invite my guest speakers onto the phone if they'd like to give any additional information.
Dr. Laura Knight, for the record, LAURAKNIGHT. I am the Chief Medical Examiner and Coroner for the Washoe County Regional Medical Examiner's Office, serving 14 counties in northern Nevada. Our office already performs more complete testing that is relevant to drugs that are currently being abused than are specified in law. And so this would not create additional workload. This would bring the law more in conformance with what we are already doing and what I understand also the Clark County office to be doing, as we're using the same toxicology laboratory and ordering the same panels. Thank you.
I will second that notion. This is Melanie Rouse, Director of the Clark County Office of the Coroner, that does cover the southern half of Nevada. We currently practice as part of our standard accreditation that we are required to complete postmortem testing on decedents that are involved in crashes. So this does cover those additional substances that are interested in this bill. I do think it's important to also note the feasibility of the timeline. So the 8 hours that is currently written into statute is often not achievable. There are many cases in which we are not even able to access the decedent within that 8 hour period, either because it is a difficult extrication from the vehicle, the scene is not secured yet, or has not been completely processed. So I think that is important for the committee to know as well.
Thank you for that. Our next question is from Assemblymember Moore.
Thank you, Chair. I just have a question. Are other states already doing this? And if so, are they also using the term commonly abused drugs as determined by the medical person?
Thank you for the question. One thing that, in one way, Nevada stands out in our process is that Nevada is the only state in the country that doesn't have a sort of a centralized forensic toxicological testing laboratory. And so we rely on our local partners to conduct the toxicology testing of deceased car crash victims. And this also sort of confounds us when we're trying to collect data from drivers that are not deceased. We don't have a centralized database of this kind of toxicology testing other than our federally required FARS database. When you ask if other states are doing this testing, every state in the country has a state highway safety office. In order to qualify for the federal funds, there are standards and practices that they require, the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration requires for reporting car crash data and toxicological testing, blood alcohol count. Those are standards that are given across every state as a condition of the federal funding. As to the exact practices of each state and the types of panels that are conducted, I haven't surveyed that information specifically, and I'm unsure if our coroner's offices are aware of whether or not that is standard practice across all states.
It will depend on the accreditation requirements and if the office is accredited or not. Offices that are accredited are required to complete standard post-mortem testing on decedents involved in motor vehicle accidents.
And could you identify yourself again, please, for the record?
Melanie Rouse, Director, Clark County Coroner's Office.
Thank you so much. Our next question is from Assemblymember Gonzalez.
Thank you, Chair. Good morning. Thank you so much for the presentation. I was just curious, because this isn't my line of work, when it says in Section 1, any coroner or other public official, English is not my first language, at the bottom it says as determined by the public official. So I was just wondering who would that be, and or like who would be performing those duties? Thank you.
Thank you. Amy Davey, Office of Traffic Safety. There are some circumstances in rural counties where another individual may be performing coroner's duties. You heard our two representatives from the coroner's office speak about how primarily they are performing those duties even for rural locations, but there are some circumstances where a sheriff may be the coroner of a rural county or another public official. That's a very small number of cases that we see, but we do see those cases.
Thank you so much. Assemblymember Roth?
Thank you so much, Chair, and thank you again. This is actually a follow-up to my question regarding the 8 hours, and I think it, certainly makes sense when in practical. I'm just wondering, I'm curious how, with the dissipation of alcohol or drugs in your system, how that's dealt with. Is it just retrograde extrapolation, or how does that kind of play into this thought process?
Thank you for the question. I would like to invite our medical examiner and our director of the coroner's office to comment on the 8-hour time frame and what effect that may or may not have in the testing.
Dr. Laura Knight, Chief Medical Examiner and Coroner, Washoe County Regional Medical Examiner's Office. Thank you for that question. It is commonly a common concern when talking about post-mortem toxicology testing. Will the results be the same as when the person passed away? And yes, they will, because at the time of death, basically metabolism in the body, breakdown of drugs and alcohol ceases, the liver ceases to function. And so those levels will be stable for a good period of time after death. We do see some changes called post-mortem redistribution, which is where sometimes we can see some small alterations in levels of certain drugs and not typically alcohol in the short range after death. And we know to interpret for those if the time after death has been long. In these traffic cases, the difference between 8 hours and 24 hours and even 36 hours is not a big difference. And some of the the issues that come up that Coroner Rouse already mentioned, when we just can't access the body that quickly, or if we're talking about some of our rural sheriff coroners who are going to send the body to the medical examiner's offices for autopsy, there may be a delay in transporting the body and those kind of practical things, such that the blood draw may not happen until 24 hours. And that is okay. It doesn't significantly change those results for the toxicology testing. And it provides for potentially a better result because the blood specimens are being drawn in a controlled environment, in the autopsy room, not on the side of a road, because of trying to meet a particular time frame that doesn't really have a scientific basis. I think that was our point in wanting to change that 8-hour rule. We didn't know where it came from in the first place because it's not really scientific. Thank you for the question.
Thank you for that. I actually have a few questions as well, and the questions are around the request to change from prohibited substances to commonly abused drugs. So for me, prohibited substances, that would be very clear in the law, what would constitute a prohibited substance. Could you explain how or who or when are commonly abused drugs defined?
Thank you for the question, Amy Davey, Office of Traffic Safety. When we first proposed the language in AB 55, we did use the term prohibited substances because it's defined in law. As I indicated in conversations with our coroner's offices, they expressed some concerns about some of the substances that are defined in law, and those substances being tested for, the cost of those certain substances when they are not commonly seen or found in drug panels. And so they requested the term and suggested the term commonly abused drugs. If I could, I'd like to invite the medical examiner and coroner's office to comment on that term and what that means to them.
Melanie Rouse, Clark County Coroner's Office Director, for the record. Often we see drug changes. So we watch in our community as the drug trends shift. So we know that what we've experienced in the last few years is a dramatic increase in the number of fentanyl-related cases. Those are currently not defined in statute. Also, we have seen drug trends where we experience substances that are, again, new to the market, new to the decedents that we're seeing in our case volume. So to us, it means to really track and evaluate those drugs as the drug market changes and as those drug trends shift.
Thank you for that, because that was actually part of what I was curious about, because we do know that drug trends shift. We also know that drug usage or abuse can also be determined by different demographics and factors as well, whether it's age or income, community, location, there's a lot of things. So when we do see these trends and these differences in, I'll say, abused drugs, who then determines that? When is it? Because I know that the intention is not to, and it's such a wide net with commonly abused drugs, and please don't take this as I'm being flippant, but a commonly abused drug is caffeine. A commonly abused drug is nicotine. We know that's not the intent of this bill. So who is defining, and when is this, okay, now this illicit drug is the issue. We see a decline in this, or this age group isn't using this. Who puts those parameters in place? And also with that, this would also, I imagine, capture prescribed drugs. So prescriptions, and how do we determine that as well? So
Thank you for the question, Amy Davey, Office of Traffic Safety. Dr. Knight, would you like to talk a little bit about the term commonly abused drugs and the suggestion that we use that terminology?
Yes, thank you, Dr. Laura Knight, for the record. So this term really encompasses a less specific list. The list that's in the law of prohibited substances right now is very limited, and it is not reflective of modern toxicology testing in the postmortem realm. I'll tell you the list. It's amphetamine and methamphetamine as one, cocaine, heroin, LSD, PCP or phencyclidine, and marijuana. And for the postmortem testing that we do on deceased individuals, we're looking not only at traffic accidents, but we're looking at a wide range of individuals who die, including people who die of drug-related deaths. And so our testing has to be much more thorough than that. For example, fentanyl, which we all know is currently a scourge in our community, is not included in the list of prohibited substances. And of course, it has to be included in our postmortem testing, or we would be missing hundreds of opioid-related deaths annually. So we use the same basic panel as our minimum level of testing on all deceased individuals. And so it includes benzodiazepines, which are drugs like Xanax that can be very sedating. It includes fentanyl and other opioid drugs that are not included in the prohibited list, for example, such as morphine and codeine. And so it's more complete. And we're always going to be doing more complete testing than this list because, again, our testing has more purposes than just this data collection. We're also looking to monitor what drugs are present in people who are dying that may be dying of those drugs.
Thank you so much. With that, I see no additional questions, so we will go ahead and open it up for testimony. So those interested in testifying in support of Assembly Bill 55, starting here in Carson City, please come forward. Not seeing anyone? Sir, are you testifying in support there in Las Vegas?
Sorry, no. I was here for potentially answering questions on behalf of Office of Traffic Safety. Thank you.
Oh, okay. Thank you so much. Is there anyone there in Las Vegas that would like to testify in support? Okay, not seeing anyone. Broadcasting, will you open the lines, please?
If you would like to testify in support of Assembly Bill 55, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue. Chair, there are no callers wishing to testify in support at this time.
Thank you so much. Is there anyone here in Carson City that would like to testify in opposition of Assembly Bill 55?
Good morning, Chair, members of the committee. Jeff Rogan on behalf of Clark County, that's ROGAN. Under committee rules, we're technically in opposition, but we are working with Ms. Davey in the Office of Traffic Safety on that amendment, which we are in support of. If there's any language that you would like tightened up, as indicated through some of the testimony, I'm willing and able to work with you on that as well. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Is there anyone in Las Vegas that would like to testify in opposition? Not seeing anyone. Broadcasting, will you open the lines?
If you would like to testify in opposition to Assembly Bill 55, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue. Chair, there are no callers wishing to testify in opposition at this time.
Thank you. Then I will open it up for testimony in neutral. Not seeing anyone approach. Is there anyone in Las Vegas that would like to testify in neutral? Broadcasting, will you open the lines, please?
If you would like to testify in neutral for Assembly Bill 55, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue. Chair, there are no callers wishing to testify in neutral at this time.
Thank you so much. Then with that, I will ask the presenters if there's any final brief remarks you'd like to make.
Just a thank you to the committee for your thoughtful questions, and a thank you to Clark County Coroner's Office and the Washoe County Medical Examiner's Office for their testimony this morning. Thank you.
Thank you so much. With that, I will go ahead and close the hearing on Assembly Bill 55. And I will open the hearing on Assembly Bill 111. Assembly Bill 111 revises provisions relating to certain traffic violations. And Assemblymember Hibbets, are you presenting on your own?
I am, Chair.
Okay. So I'll give you a moment to get settled, and then when you're ready, please proceed.
Thank you, Chair. Chair and committee members, I am Brian Hibbets, B-R-I-A-N-H-I-B-B-E-T-T-S, the elected representative for Assembly District 13. Thank you for allowing me the opportunity to present Assembly Bill 111, or as we refer to it, Jaya's Law. In December of 2023, I was put into contact with a constituent that was looking for some help. Andrea Rainey was in search of assistance and thought I might be able to help her. Andrea told me that on December 9th, a crash occurred on US 95 in the area of Durango Interchange in northwest Las Vegas, which is Assembly District 13. This crash involved multiple vehicles and people. 3 of those people died as a result of their injuries. The at-fault driver, who I will not name, Karen Foote of Assembly District 31, and Andrea's 3-year-old granddaughter, Jaya Brooks of Assembly District 13. Pardon me one moment. The at-fault driver was driving southbound in the northbound lanes of US 95. Subsequent investigation would reveal she entered the freeway at the Kyle Canyon interchange and traveled past the Sky Canyon and Durango interchanges, almost making it to the Elkhorn overpass before causing the catastrophic crash. This is a distance of more than 2.8 miles. And this was at approximately 3:15 p.m. on a sunny, clear day. In an effort to answer your questions before you can ask them, the standard toxicology test performed by the coroner showed no presence of alcohol or drugs in the at-fault driver's system. At the request of the NHP investigator, the coroner performed an expanded toxicology test that revealed the presence of an obscure prescription drug. However, it is unknown if this particular drug contributed to the driving behavior. After Andrea explained to me the circumstances of the crash that took her granddaughter, she asked what can be done to fix this so nobody else has to go through this. After conducting research, I told her the first thing we should do is make wrong-way driving a crime. As of January 1st, 2023, NRS 44B.227, the wrong-way driving statute, is a civil infraction. AB 116 of the 81st legislative session made a wide array of traffic offenses civil as opposed to criminal. 44B.227 was one of those. When I discuss this bill with people, they almost always say something along the lines of, well, aren't they all drunk or high? Obviously, no. Lawyers will usually say, we can just charge people with reckless driving. Now ask any prosecutor how difficult it is to prove the elements of reckless driving in court. AB 111 simply makes driving the wrong way on a divided highway a misdemeanor. Nothing more, nothing less. And if a prosecuting attorney feels that a particular case should not be treated as a criminal offense, they still have the option of reverting it to a civil matter as described in AB 116 from 2021. Even if the wrong-way driving results in an accident, it remains a civil matter, unless there is substantial bodily harm or death. I think this is one we got wrong. We hear all the time about wrong-way driving on the news. I could tell you about other cases that have happened in my district, but this law is not about those cases. It is about the ones you don't hear about. I asked Las Vegas Metro and NHP to pull some stats for me on reported wrong-way drivers. Using a keyword search in the dispatch system, LVMPD found 634 reports of wrong-way drivers for calendar year 2024. 634. That was just an LVMPD jurisdiction and does not include the cities of North Las Vegas or Henderson. NHP responded to 731 wrong-way driver calls for service in their jurisdiction in 2024. This was statewide and included 123 wrong-way crashes, with 24 of those crashes resulting in 49 fatalities. So as you can see, this is not a small problem. Now you will hear that making this a criminal offense again will do nothing to combat this problem. I disagree. The media exposure this issue has gotten so far has put this out in the public eye and forced people to have discussions about it. If returning NRS 44B.227 to a criminal offense makes even one person more cognizant of their driving behaviors, then I think it will be worth it, and Jaya's Law will be a success. I'll stand for your questions.
Assembly member, we do not have any questions.
Thank you, ma'am.
With that, I will open it up for testimony in support of Assembly Bill 111. Again, I ask that everyone state their name, spell it for the record, and please try to keep your comments to 2 minutes. Thank you, and we do have the pictures and everything you included. Thank you so much.
My name is Jan Brooks, Janbrooks. My name is Jan Brooks, and I'm the father of Jaya Brooks. I'm standing here on behalf of my little angel Jaya and the 600 other people affected by countless acts of reckless drivers. Every day I woke up, I looked forward to spending the day with my daughter. Making her food, getting her ready for gymnastics, watching her grow, just being there, being the best dad I can be to her. She deserved that. And due to a wrong-way driver that was taken away from me at 3 years old on December 9th, 2023. Honestly can't explain the impact or express in words how special I felt knowing I was spending the rest of my life with this person. I can't express enough how much pain I walk around with that'll never go away. You never want to see things like this happen to anyone, but especially kids, the most innocent people in the world. The impact she had on me is the reason why I am who I am today. She changed me for the better. And I honestly was the one who was truly blessed to be able to be around such a beautiful soul in person, inside and out. And I'll forever spend countless nights crying, thinking, and asking why. Jail literally won my heart the moment I seen her. I always knew she would live her life with a purpose. She was the best thing that had ever happened to me at that time. I won't get another birthday, another second to spend with her. She was my perfect person. Thank you.
Thank you so much for being here. And again, we are deeply sorry for this unimaginable tragedy.
Good morning. My name is Andrea Rainey, Andrea. Last name is Raney. Jan is my son, and I am Jaya's grandmother. As Brian said, he explained the day of the crash. We're also here with Ray Foote, who is the husband of Karen Foote, the other innocent victim of the wrong-way crash. December 9th, 2023 is a day that forever tragically changed so many lives. My son, Jan, and his daughter, Jaya, were 6 minutes from home. They were on their way home. 6 minutes from home. when they were involved in a crash at the hands of a wrong-way driver. Karen Foote and the wrong-way driver lost their lives immediately. 435 days ago, December 11th, 2023, Jaya also passed from her injuries. One crash involving 4 people, 3 families, 3 deaths, forever impacting our worlds to navigate life without our loved ones from one person's reckless decision. Jaya was a 3-year-old bundle of love and light. She meant so much to all of us. Karen Foote was a special education teacher and a school psychologist from Sparks. She was visiting family in Las Vegas with her husband, Ray. She also leaves behind many loved ones. We all feel the impact of them daily without them in our lives. Jaya and Karen should be here. The dangers of wrong-way driving leads to devastation and loss of life. Their consequences for their decisions may be a ticket or fine if they get caught, maybe. And if they do not pay the ticket, it goes to a debt collection agency. The real consequences unfairly fall on the innocent, like Jaya, Karen, more recently Officer Pulsifer, and their loved ones, forever with certainty, impacting families, friends, communities, forever. A study by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration reported wrong-way crashes are often more severe than regular accidents. Wrong-way drivers are usually traveling at high rates of speed down freeway entrance ramps, resulting in head-on collisions. I recently viewed the clips from those 5 wrong-way driving systems that we have in Las Vegas, and I can attest to that. Only 2 out of all those clips safely pulled over, adhered to the flashing signs. The rest of them were flying down the freeway ramp, onto the freeway, off-ramp. Who knows what was waiting at the bottom? No stopping in sight. Stricter penalties and laws for wrong-way driving can discourage this dangerous action, prompting people to think twice before breaking rules, keeping Nevada's roads safer. Committing a crime that could include jail time can serve as a strong deterrent. By making the consequences clear, Nevada can create a culture of responsibility on the highways, leading to safer travels for everyone. In conclusion, we are here advocating for change in honor of our loved ones, Jaya, Brooks, and Karen Foote. Wrong-way driving poses a threat to everyone on our roads. In implementing wrong-way driving as a misdemeanor crime, Nevada has the opportunity to significantly reduce the number of crashes, lost lives, and potentially the cost to the state spent on emergency services caused by this reckless behavior. Please take action to protect all drivers and passengers on the road. A safer Nevada is a responsibility that everyone can share. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you so much. And as a grandmother, I know that not only did you lose your grandbaby, but having to watch your son suffer as well is not easy.
And she'll never know her new sister who's outside. That's who's
Is
outside.
is that who we heard?
Yeah. Stuff like that. Like, it's just like Jan said, the first of everything is so second of it's just every day.
Absolutely. But thank you for being here. And thank you for speaking on behalf of the Foote family. Is there anyone else here? Yes, please proceed.
Good morning again. My name is Harrison Porter, Harrison Porter, and I represent the Las Vegas Police Managers and Supervisors Association, and we are in favor of this bill.
Good morning, Chair, members of the committee. My name is John Abel, Johnabel. I represent the LVPPA with Metro officers who patrol the area of Las Vegas. Where Jaya died is my area of town. I travel that road every single day. I see the stains of the accident on that road every single day. I've seen her face in the news. As soon as her dad walked in, I knew who he was. For that reason, we support this bill. Cops complain all the time. They see people driving like crazy on the roads, and a lot of these bills and a lot of these traffic crimes were decriminalized. This bill just makes sense for that reason. We support it. Thank you.
Jennifer Noble, JenniferNoble, on behalf of the Nevada District Attorneys Association, here in support of this piece of legislation, and our hearts go out to the Brooks and Foote families and to Jaya's grandmother and her father. Thank you.
Morning, Chair, Committee. Adrian Hunt, ADRIANHUNT. I represent Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department. We are in full support of AB 111. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair, members of the committee. For the record, Mike Cathcart, representing the City of Henderson, CATH-CART. We want to thank the sponsor for bringing this important bill. We are in full support, and we believe this would be a very worthy change to the Nevada revised statutes. Thank you.
For the record, Dan Gordon, DANGORDON, and I'm the president of the Nevada Police Union, and we fully support this bill.
For the record, Ryan Beeman, BEAMAN, representing the professional firefighters. We're in full support of this bill. As first responders, we unfortunately have to go on these type of crashes and see the incidents that take place. But something that's not also reported is the ones too that we get called out that the wrong way drivers and the ones that don't happen. So there's a lot more of these that unfortunately they didn't have that crash. Thank you.
We will move to Las Vegas. Is there anyone in Las Vegas that would like to testify in support of Assembly Bill 111? Not seeing anyone. Broadcasting, will you open the lines?
If you'd like to testify in support on AB 111, please press star 9 on your phone to take your place in the queue. Chair, there are no callers wishing to testify in support at this time.
Thank you. Then I will open it up for testimony in opposition, beginning here in Carson City. Not seeing anyone. Is there anyone there in Las Vegas that would like to testify in opposition? Also not seeing anyone. Broadcasting, will you open the lines?
If you'd like to testify in opposition on AB 111, please press star 9 on your phone to take your place in the queue. Chair, there are no callers in opposition at this time.
Thank you so much. I will open it up for neutral testimony here in Carson City. Not seeing anyone approach. Is there anyone in Las Vegas that would like to testify in neutral? Also not seeing anyone. Broadcasting, will you open the lines?
To testify in neutral on AB 111, please press star 9 on your phone to take your place in the queue. Chair, there are no callers wishing to testify in neutral.
Thank you so much. Then I will close testimony and welcome Assemblymember Hibbets back up for any final remarks.
Just to say thank you, Chair, and get my program. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Assemblymember. With that, I will go ahead and close the hearing on Assembly Bill 111. Our last agenda item today is public comment. So if there's anyone wishing to make public comment here in Carson City, please proceed. Not seeing anyone. Is there anyone there in Las Vegas that would like to make public comment? Also not seeing anyone. Broadcasting, will you please open the line?
If you'd like to participate in public comment, please press star 9 on your phone to take your place in the queue. Chair, the public line is open and working. However, there are no callers at this time.
Thank you so much. Then with that, I will close public comment. Thank you, everyone, for the presentations. Thank you, members, for your work today. And with that, I will adjourn this meeting and see you all tomorrow morning at 8 a.m.